For whom do we fall? First and foremost, this can be predicted by geographic proximity. You are unlikely to meet someone to fall in love with unless they live fairly near to you. Even in the age of the internet, which has widened that radius, we still tend to shy away from matches who live too far away. And we're more likely to arrange to meet those who live closer to us. Social psychologists have found that most people marry someone who lives nearby, works for the same company, sits in the same class, or visits one of the same favorite places. And more recently, someone who resides in our internet dating geographic radius. We are also more likely to marry someone whom we find attractive. Beauty is a force to be reckoned with. Now, who said this? Beauty is a greater recommendation than any letter of reference. Anybody know? That was Aristotle. It is not surprising that we will be more attracted to those we find attractive, right? But what is more interesting is how we determine attractiveness. Is beauty objective or mostly in the eyes of the beholder? There is a lot of evidence supporting the idea that beauty is objective. In the ratings consensus study, researchers found consensus with men, women, children, and those across different cultures when rating the attractiveness of photographed individuals. The infant study found that even newborn infants look at pictures of attractive faces longer than those which are unattractive. They can tell the difference. You may be surprised to find that average faces are considered to be the most attractive also. Judy Langlois uses computer software that averages faces. So if you're talking just two pictures using a mix of 50-50% pixels of each, right? You can see an example of just two mixes on this slide, with the third giving the average of the two faces. Langlois had participants rate actual yearbook photos alone and composites of those photos that averaged pixels with 4, 8, 16, and 32 same gender faces. Time and time again, people choose the one that had been averaged 32 times, the most times. In other words, they chose the most average of the faces. Another researcher photographed the 22 finalists in the 2002 Miss Germany competition. Then they had shoppers at a local mall choose the most attractive between the 22 photos and the virtual contestant, a composite of all 22 faces. The virtual Miss Germany won with a wide margin. Is this cool research or what? This averaging of faces on a computer is called morphing. So here's an interesting question. Could morphing help to catch a thief? Researchers from Iowa State University recently volunteered to use morphing software to answer this question. If there are multiple eyewitnesses to a crime, would it help to average their sketches of the perpetrator's face? They found that yes, in most cases, the morphs looked more like the actual target than any of the individually advised sketches. So across culture, we find that average faces are considered attractive. Also, symmetrical faces. Symmetry is actually a cue for things like health, fitness, and fertility. Now, most of us do not have very symmetrical faces. Take a close look at the two pictures on this slide. Which do you feel is the most attractive? The one on the left shows an actual face of an individual. The one on the right was made by duplicating the left side of the face placing that on the right as the mirror image. So the face is perfectly symmetrical. Most find the perfectly symmetrical photo more attractive than the true one. Yes, you can try this at home using your favorite picture of yourself. Make it perfectly symmetrical using the same method, then compare it with your original photo. The color red in the context can also affect how attractive we find someone, believe it or not, at least in Western cultures. A large group of males rated the attractiveness of this woman. The pictures of this woman are identical, except some saw her with the red background and some with the tan one. She was rated as significantly more attractive with the red background. This didn't work with other color backgrounds. There is just something about the color red. In many ways, we are conditioned to think of red as romantic or attractive in our culture, especially around what holiday? Valentine's Day. So most Valentine cards are red. Red hearts are used as symbols for love, etc. So for the most part, beauty is objective. But there are just a few exceptions of subjective influences too. Different cultures come up with different ways to enhance beauty, right? Like face painting, plastic surgery, scarring, wearing makeup, tattooing, teeth filing, piercing, etc. What is taught to be attractive through cultural learning can be repulsive to those from another culture. Also, have you ever noticed that a relatively unattractive person can seem to grow more attractive right in front of your eyes as you get to know them when they have strong, likable characteristics? Here's a really great clip on this phenomena from an interesting independent film that is called Happy Thank You More Please.